the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Friday edition of Before You Bet. Airing live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're on YouTube, guys, do me a favor. Smash that like button right down there. Smash that subscribe button right down there as well. If you guys want to participate in today's show, it is very easy to do so. Just hit up the live chat on YouTube or on X. Let us know what you're betting on here tonight. Give us a little help. Major League Baseball, some Olympic qualifying basketball that we're going to get into here in a little bit. Some European Copa soccer action. Let us know what you're betting on and why you are doing so. Francesco Greco weighing in. Regards from Italy. Indeed. Yes, sir, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. A viewer from Italy, as I often say, Before You Bet is an international sports betting program. Let us know where you are watching from. Okay, we're going to open today's show with Major League Baseball, and joining me to do so is my coworker here at Covers, the man with the sexiest smile in all of sports betting. Let's bring him in, Josh Inglis. Now his shirt, is his audio speak for us? Give us a count to three. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. We're here, and I'm trying to be louder than my shirt, but just you know how it is.
Paul
you're throwing things
vibe.
out, you're throwing bets out. You got to make sure everything's in, because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than writing about bet, telling people to bet, and then you don't put it in your account yourself. Like it doesn't happen often, but it happens. It sucks. So I just had to double check. I had everything in the account there, bud.
Oh, man, yes. Speaking of stupid mistakes you make as a bettor, I placed a bet in Las Vegas last Friday. Colin Rea of the Brewers, I think it was over 17 and a half outs at the Rockies. And I forgot to cash the ticket. And I don't know when I'm going to be in Las Vegas next. Now, it's only for it's $200, decent chunk of change still. So I don't know when I'm going to be in Las Vegas next to cash that. So
does it expire?
I think they have like a year. I haven't checked that. I just was going through the wallet, and I'm up here in Canada and I had the U.S. money that I got to bring back down to the bank, and I pull out that ticket. And I'm like, you jackass! I just completely forgot. I was very busy down there, but that is the way she goes. Producer Dell weighing in. Regards from Kazakhstan. Yes, Dell on summer vacation in Kazakhstan to visit his family.
He's in Kazakhstan?
Visiting his family, and he's still taking time to tune into the show. I don't know what time it is over there in Kazakhstan, but thanks for tuning in, buddy. We do appreciate your viewership. Okay, so before we get into the picks, we have...
Question.
Yes, go.
Dell's Kazakhstanian?
He is.
No. I thought he was Italian.
I thought that was like a common known thing about him.
No. Oh, you think you know some people. You think you know some people.
Yeah, I hope you have nothing against him now, because
no, it's good. It's totally flipped. I thought he was Italian. Oh, phew.
All right, enough talk about producer Dell. Let's get into some Major League Baseball futures. So we've been covering the entire Major League Baseball season here, but we really haven't broken things down from a futures perspective yet, just with everything going on in the NBA. So we do have more time to focus on baseball now. So let's pull up the World Series futures odds board over at FanDuel and kind of rip through a few of these. And I'm going to tell you the one team who is on my radar, who I think you should bet on today. So you take a look at the top here. The LA Dodgers, always a team that has a fantastic regular season. And then what happens in the playoffs? They disappoint, they flop. I know they won it back in 2020, the COVID year. But on paper, it's probably the best roster in baseball. They're going to get some guys back here later in the season too. The Phillies, that's a team I absolutely loved last year. Their window still very much wide open. 5-1 to win the World Series. The Yankees, sputtering a little bit right now. I think the Yankees will bounce back here in the regular season, but I don't trust the Yankees in the playoffs. We see it all the time. They have a great regular season, then they urinate all over themselves as a big favorite in the playoffs. Do not be surprised to see that again. The Orioles, very disappointing in last year's playoffs. Maybe a bit of a learning experience, a young team, so you do give them a bit of a break. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a big run this year. The Braves, not so much. Yes, they're getting a lot out of Chris Sale. He's been fantastic for them. But Strider and Acuna, once you lose your best pitcher and your best hitter, I'm not going to give you much of a chance. The Astros, 18-1. I think that's the best bet you can make right now. More on them here in a little bit. Then we have some under the radar teams. The Guardians 20-1, Twins 20-1. I don't like the Twins in the playoffs. Mariners sputtering a little bit. More on them here in a second. Teams like the Brewers, Padres are kind of sexy. It's not always chalky in baseball, right? It's not like the NBA where it's typically the best teams that get in. Look at last year's World Series. We had the Rangers and the Diamondbacks get in. Now, maybe this year it is a little bit more chalkier, but who knows? Things are wide open. So, yeah, the point I wanted to make here, the team that you should be betting on right now in MLB futures markets is absolutely the Houston Astros because the value is about to dry up on them. So they are one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball right now. Check them out over the last month. They have the best ERA in Major League Baseball over the last month of the season, top 10 in many offensive categories. They're on a 12-2 run right now, just 2 games back of the Mariners, who are absolutely reeling right now. They're 4-10 in their last 14 games. So here's what the Astros have going into the break. It won't be a walk in the park in Minnesota against the Twins this weekend, but then they'll finish out the first half at home versus the Marlins, who are a disgrace, and the Rangers, who are a pretty big disappointment this season. So what is this all leading up to? Well, you can take the Astros at 18-1 to win the World Series over at FanDuel, plus 750 to win the American League. How many years in a row have they been in the American League championship game now? 6 or 7, something crazy like that. Don't be surprised to see them back there. But something a little bit safer, you can get the Astros at plus 115 to win the AL West right now. And like I said, they're moving in the right direction, just 2 games back of the Mariners, who can't hit. So don't be surprised if even by the time next week, the Astros could be in the lead there in the AL West. So a plus 115, I think we're going to see them continue to keep it going throughout the second half. So that is the team that I do have on my radar. The Astros, they got off to a slow start. And as a result, I think some pretty decent value on them. But I think that value is about to dry up, especially if they finish out the first half like they've been playing over the last month of the season. Jingles, anything stand out to you here in futures markets for Major League Baseball?
Well, I was looking at, if Cleveland could add a little starting pitcher at the deadline, they're legitimate, but basically the best home team right now, leading all the AL in win percentage. The odds makers obviously expecting them to fall back, but on the same point, like Baltimore, New York has to face that tough division. Boston's been a great team this year, but 365 has the Guardians at plus 1,300 to win everything. So that plus 2,000 is great. But like, if you're still looking between that price on the Guardians at plus 2,000 or Houston at 1,800, you have to go with Houston right now, who's winning despite not having Kyle Tucker. They're missing guys like Jose Urquidy. Verlander will be back too. They're missing some big names, and that's a team that's going to get better, but doesn't have to add. Cleveland will probably get better by adding if they want to open up the books, but you can't disregard playoff experience. And Houston has it. Cleveland's starting to get it. That bullpen's great, but they're my favorite two right now in the AL to kind of move on, especially, I don't know, you kind of touched on it. Like, don't trust the Yankees. Don't trust Baltimore yet. Happy with Cleveland right there. Cleveland to finish with the best regular season, the number 1 seed in the AL, is plus 700. They're number 1 now. And the teams in front of it are Baltimore and New York, who are going to have to play each other quite a bit down the stretch, play Boston. I know Toronto stinks, but they're still a very competitive baseball team. And Tampa Bay will always be competitive. So it's a lot different than what they get to play in the White Sox. Minnesota's your number 2 team in that division. So there's a lot to like for Cleveland going that way. But let's stay in that division. Let's go Garrett Crochet for Cy Young at 850. No, like, okay. He's a young arm, but go over to Fangraphs. He's number 1 easily in WAR by like 0.4. above Sale, who you mentioned, who's having a great year. Number one in all guys. Let's see what we get here. 850. So FanDuel's got an 850. 365 has an 850. He's like one more start away. Burns had a tough go in his last game versus yesterday in Seattle. So Crochet, one more start, maybe we're going to see that number move. Double-digit Ks in 50% of his last 10 starts. Leads all qualified pitchers and expected ERA. Leads all qualified pitchers in Ks per 12. If he had more name recognition, I think he'd be higher on that list. And if he wasn't pitching for the White Sox.
Yeah, my one concern with a guy like him is that the White Sox might limit his innings, especially a team like the White Sox. We've got nothing to play for. Sometimes teams come out and say that, we're not going to shut these guys down. It's like the Pirates came out and said we're not going to shut down Skeens or Jones, but we did see them skip Jones's start his last time out. Now he's on the DL. I don't know if those two things are related at all. But yeah,
good point.
Just something to keep in mind. But yeah, one last note on the Astros. Don't put it past them to make a big splash at the trade deadline. This is a team that's traded for Justin Verlander twice at the trade deadline. And I think they might see their championship window starting to shrink just a little bit. That dynasty, all these guys, Altuve, Bregman, of course, Verlander, starting to get a little bit older. So yeah, we'll see with the Astros, but I love the direction they're going in. You can get them at plus money to win that division. I think that's
and they bought out what's his face from the White Sox. The guy couldn't hit who they paid.
Abreu.
Yeah. Then they got rid of him. So there's a spot open up.
Yeah, massive disappointment there. Okay, let's get into some picks here. We got some afternoon baseball in Chicago, 2 picks for that game, and a handful of others. So I'm going to get us started. I'm going to go with the man getting the start for the Chicago Cubs, Justin Steele, pitching today here against the Angels. I like under 2.5 earned runs, minus 140. A little juicy. I think it's worth it, though. So he's in absolutely great form right now. 2 earned runs or less in 6 of his last 7 starts. 1 or less in 4 of these games, and just 2 total home runs allowed during that 7-game stretch. Bringing it all together, the Angels absolutely stink versus left-handed pitching. They suck. They are dead last in OPS versus lefties over the last month. And yes, Wrigley Field, you're going to want to check out the wind. And yeah, indeed, the wind is blowing out. Jingles is probably going to point to that here. But you got to kind of put things together here. Los Angeles is a team that really struggles to generate hard contact, which is something Steele is fantastic at limiting. And as I pointed out, he's only allowed 2 home runs in his last 7 starts. So don't expect the balls to be jumping off the bats here for the Angels. Justin Steele under 2.5 earned runs. Now we go to the other dugout. Canning, what do you like or not like for him, Jingles?
No, I was just digging up as you were crapping on the Angels, blanked by JP Sears yesterday. They got Miguel Sano as their number 4 hitter. They go Chenal, Pilar, Ward, and Sano in 1 to 4. Like, these are casts off in for other teams, and that's making up the top end of your order. Steele could have a good game despite the wind. It's actually dropping. We've seen that total fall down. But Griffin Canning on the other side, the Cubs have been brutal, but the Cubs kind of got something back. They were in a funk. They were in that losing funk where everything was great at the beginning of the season, then things started to fall apart. They got the offense rolling yesterday. They should be able to continue to keep it going today in the afternoon with that wind, double digits, 13 miles an hour blowing out. Projects for 14 and a half outs. His number 16 and a half. I mean, this number did go up a bit just because of where the total went, as it went from 10 to 9.5. So everything else kind of moved along with it. But in a game with a total of 10, 9.5, and as a dog at plus 165, you're in a tough spot already. So there's a lot to like about him not going very deep. And I mean, he's given up 5 home runs, 16 runs over his last 4 starts, and they've come against bad teams in Detroit, Oakland, Milwaukee, and Arizona. So he also has one of my favorite angles when you're looking at pitchers, because pitchers are basically handled with baby gloves now, unless you're guys like, why can't I think of his name now, in Washington, Patrick Corbin, the lefty, who you're like, here's your money, just go out and earn it.
Give us 100 pitches.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what.
100%. But in this spot, like, he's coming off a season high. Canyon has 102 pitches, where he was averaging 92 pitches per start before over his last 10. And then, like I said, facing the Chicago offense that kind of got things going yesterday, like him to get beat up a little bit. Might be able to get even money now just because that total's hit.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Patrick Corbin. He's
pitching
pitching today. Well, whenever he's pitching, it's like the value on fading him is been long gone for about a season and a half now, because you're always looking for ways to fade him. They have his earned run set at 3.5. The walks are always set at 2.5. But the outs will be at 16.5, 17.5 outs, and that's the thing. He might allow 6 earned runs. They're like, hey, motherfucker, you're staying in this game. We're getting you got to give us your 100 pitches here. Dude, they do not give a shit.
You think he's the top 6 paid pitcher in all of baseball?
Well, yeah, he came over from Arizona. They gave him, I think he was pretty good during their World Series run there. They paid him instead of Bryce Harper. I think there was some overlap there. Yeah, and people didn't like that. But I don't know. They won a World Series, and then they threw in a towel. It's pretty funny. The Nationals could have Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, and Soto still in their lineup, but instead they're kind of in the middle of a rebuild here. So.
I'm trying to look at the top 5 because I think Washington has a bunch of them in terms of what? Oh, yeah, Strasburg's in there too, right? So they got Corbin and Strasburg. They're on the hook for like what? It must be like $60 million. There's 35 for Strasburg, and Corbin is 23 million. There's 60 million a year at a payroll for Corbin and Strasburg.
Well, they didn't pay Anthony Rendon, and that's going to be a top 5 worst contract in the sport right now. So we'll give them a little bit of credit for that. But Strasburg, that's one of the worst contracts in the history of professional athletics, I think is fair to say. Okay, enough Washington Nationals talk. Let's move on to this game here. Reds, Tigers, Cincinnati. Carson Spires. Do we have any fans of Carson Spires watching the show today? Maybe you will be one if you tail this bet and he comes through for us. I'm going to go over 16.5. That's a little bit of plus money, plus 106. Great matchup for him versus the Tigers team that struggles versus right-handed pitching and on the road. 25th in OPS on the road versus righties over the last month. He's hit 18 outs in 3 straight starts, and he has a long enough leash to go deep into a pitch count. A few starts ago, the Reds left him out there for 104 pitches against Pittsburgh, where he did reach 18 outs. And the underlying numbers also point towards a strong performance here. This is a guy who posted a 282 FIP in June, does a great job of limiting walks, allows a lot of soft contact. Just 1 home run allowed in 37.1 innings of work. Tigers are a team, don't walk a lot, rock bottom in terms of hard contact versus righties here over the past couple weeks. Spires, you might be a fan tonight. My favorite bet of the night, Pablo Lopez, under 17.5 outs, plus 145. So
Houston's got you all hot and bothered, eh?
What's that?
The Astros got you hot and bothered. You expecting them to smack them
It's
around,
all
eh?
lining up.
I know it is, yeah.
So Pablo Lopez, this is my favorite bet of the day, under 17.5 outs, plus 145. So whoever set this line might be severely hungover. It was the 4th of July yesterday, after all, so maybe a bit of a situational handicapping spot here. The 17.5, okay, but plus 145 on this, jumping all over it. I absolutely love it. So Pablo Lopez, he's been at his worst at home here, where he has a 5.14 ERA. He's failed to complete 18 outs in 5 of 8 starts versus some pretty light competition. Tampa Bay, Colorado, the Rangers, who are struggling this season, and the Chicago Shit Sox. He failed to reach 18 outs versus all those teams. And bringing it all together here, as I pointed out, Astros quite strong offensively lately, especially versus right-handed pitching. First, overall, in Major League Baseball and OPS versus righties over the last 2 weeks. I'll take them to keep rolling, get that pitch count up, get Lopez out of the game before the 6 IP mark. Okay, Jingles, another fade here, plus money fade, Sonny Gray. I was looking at this one. You jumped on it first, so break this one down.
A lot of it has to do with, well, obviously the price. Betting under outs is always a sweat, right?
Yes.
Like it's tough to pay juice. It's tough, but cashing plus 150 under 17.5 is probably the best way to bet this market. Like if you're betting the under 17s, you got to get the plus money. I think there's spots. And this is one for Sonny Gray, who, first off, is a guy who projects for 85 pitches. If you've watched a Sonny Gray start, he's efficient, but they only let him go 85 pitches, 90 pitches. He doesn't get very far. Big thing, starting to get hot, obviously. The rest of the slate isn't hot, but in Washington today, it's 97 degrees with a chance of rain and a delay. So there's the weather factor that's obviously not really priced in. These guys sitting on the mound for long innings and six straight innings, that's a lot of work. And another great thing that I've really been paying attention to now more than ever is splits. Like you got Spires over at home. That's a great spot. He's at home. He's on his own mound. Sonny Gray on the road, 4.08 ERA versus a 1.9 ERA at home. That's a massive difference. And on the road, 33 hits, 35 innings. Okay, about a hit an inning. But when he gets home, 31 hits, 52 innings. The guy is just a different breed of a pitcher at home. He likes his mound. He's not going to be on his mound today. Yes, the Nats aren't a great offense, but he's going to be uncomfortable if the Nats can. I mean, the Nats aren't a high strikeout team. They're a ball and play team. So if they can make Sonny Gray sweat and stay on that mound in the 97-degree heat and push the game longer, which could have some rain, there's a lot of outs stacking up here for Sonny Gray at plus 150.
Indeed, make that defense work. And I believe that is your play of the day on the show today, which we will be throwing into a parlay, which I will announce at the end of the program. So stay tuned for
John
that.
Metler wanted to put a home run prop in the parlay. We spent the first day of the parlay. We're like, okay, guys, what are we doing? It throws at a plus 430. So you can't be that guy who comes out and be like, okay, here's my minus 120 next year, 420.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up the baseball section here with my last pick. Kyle Freeland, not a guy I'm often looking to back here for the Rockies. He's back off the DL. He's looked pretty good for them. I'm going to go under 3.5 earned runs, minus 125 with the Royals in town. So he has looked pretty good since returning from the DL. Just 2 appearances, small sample size, but a sample size needs to start somewhere. It's 1.42 ERA with a 0.87 whip and 12.2 innings of work, and it's a very ideal matchup for him. This is what this bet comes down to. Kansas City has been awful versus left-handed pitching, 29th in OPS over the last month, and they've been awful on the road, dead last in OPS on the road over the last month. I know it is Coors Field, hence the 3.5 number here for Freeland. He doesn't have to be perfect. He can make a couple of mistakes and still come out under here at 3.5. So Freeland under 3.5 runs.
There's some whispers that the KC offense is cheating at home because of their gigantic splits of being the best home offense and being one of the worst road offenses in baseball.
Yeah, indeed. So, hopefully they continue that pattern of being one of the worst here tonight in Colorado. Okay, Jingles, we will leave it at that, but let the people know what else you are working on and where they can find you.
I think I'm going to jump on TSN today with Al's brother at 3 o'clock, probably discussing some more future stuff, maybe some NHL stuff. We got that. Bat Release Show has a ton of plays today. Released 3, some under walks, and Brian Hoeing was a big one we hit earlier today. When the books are scared to open a prop market for strikeouts and it opens at 2.5, there's usually some variance in there where they were off. So we got the over 2.5 versus the White Sox for plus 145. I think it's like plus 110 right now. So trust Cardi's numbers because they give you CLV 99% of the time.
Cash money, baby. All right, buddy. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Take care, bud.
Indeed. I'm so awful. I have the guest on the show. And how long do you think this segment will be for, Joe? When do you think I should come on the show? We have John Metler coming right up. I was like, Jingles and I will probably talk baseball for around 10 minutes, 25 minutes deep. Greg in the live chat on YouTube weighing in. Lots of energy and a great show. Greg, the pride of Portland, Maine. Great place to visit in the summer. Shout out, Greg. Thank you for watching. Okay, let's get into some basketball talk and a little bit more baseball talk. John Metler. Let's bring him in here. Proud Angola plus 33 better. Nailed that one the other day. Metler, how are we making out?
Good. That was about as sweat free as you can get for a 33-point underdog. They were like within 10 points pretty much the whole way through. So that one play, then they turn around and lose to Lebanon, which they should have, that should never happen. But I'm glad Angola came through when we bet on them. So that was good.
Yeah, don't sleep on Angola in
True.
international basketball competition. Okay, so you have 2 more plays. We have a very interesting game coming up. I believe it's tomorrow in Olympic qualifying. Giannis and Luka going head to head. You have another bet as well. But Jingles alluded to this. You like betting these dingers. You got someone on your radar tonight, which you're throwing into our BYB Big Bet Parlay. Break this one down for us.
Yeah, so I only have one home run prop today. So I went Jock Peterson plus 430 to hit a home run. Jock Peterson, it's his entire career has been he hits a bunch of home runs off right-handed pitchers, can't hit left-handed pitchers. He's facing a pitcher who kind of that split matches the way Peterson is. Peterson has 12 home runs on the year, 11 of them against right-handed pitchers. The right-handed pitcher starting today for the Padres, Randy Vasquez. He has given up 5 home runs in 89 at bats and a 1.174 OPS versus left-handed batters. So he's obviously really struggling to get out left-handed batters. It's just kind of one of those, the splits line up. And then you also go through and you look at, like, I was looking at the projections, and the projections kind of had Peterson about plus 290 to hit home run day. So that's a pretty good, for a home run prop, that's a pretty good probability gap you're seeing there. And then Petco Park, nothing crazy, but like it's blowing out to right field 7 miles per hour. It's better than it blowing in at 7 miles per hour. So once again, you're facing right-hand pitcher, left-hand batter, wind blowing out to the side, to the pole side for Peterson. So just kind of everything lined up here. The price is right. So I hit the button plus 430 on Peterson.
Okay, so I asked each of the guys to let me know what their best bet, their favorite bet of the day is. That is John's. Jingles is the Sonny Gray under 17.5 outs. Mine is the Pablo Lopez under 17.5 outs. So we're going to put them all together in something we're going to call the BYB Best Bet Parlay. This is a pretty big number here. That's what happens when you throw a plus 430 into a parlay. But yeah, plus 3,146 on this. So a $10 bet would win you $314. Prices, of course, will vary across sportsbooks. Dell weighing in, that's a lock. So yeah, $10 pays out a little over $300, or $1 would pay $3.14. And if it comes through, you can get your family some chocolate bars.
It'd be $31.
Or some chips and some Coca-Cola, something like that, right? Thank you, Dell. I took out the calculator to put that all together. So yeah, if you're looking for a bit of a silly parlay, let's be honest. Who knows? Crazier things have happened though. So maybe we'll probably look to get more of these going throughout the summer. People do love their parlay, so let's have some fun with it. Okay, so Olympic qualifying basketball action. This first bet, this is someone I have no clue who this is or what team they play on. A guy named Nico Mannion.
Yeah.
And you have a bet for him. Tell us who he is. Give us his full biography, and then tell us the bet that you like.
Okay, well, he started playing college at Arizona. I'm not gonna do that. He did go to Arizona. He was a good player, and he was drafted by the Golden State Warriors, and he was kind of on their G League team a couple years ago. He's moved over to EuroLeague playing in Italy. So he's playing for the Italian national team, and I'm going Nico Mannion over 10.5 points minus 115. So he won't start. So if you do bet on this and he doesn't start the game, that's normal. He doesn't start, he comes off the bench. But the big one here is, he comes off the bench with Danilo Gallinari, which I'm sure is a name people recognize. Yes. And the two of them are kind of their scorers off the bench. Well, last night when they were playing Puerto Rico, Danilo Gallinari went down with 2 minutes left and he asked to be subbed out. And there was a report this morning that he's questionable to play tomorrow. And the sportsbooks have his props up. He has a total of 12.5 on the board. So I don't think they even realize that, Danilo Gallinari might not be playing tomorrow. And if that's the case, when those two would typically sub in, it'll just be Nico Mannion subbing in. And the offense is going to flow through him. So, even you just look at, it's kind of hard to get a read on what Italy, like what the minutes might look for Nico Mannion, just because he didn't play in the World Cup last year for them. And the first game they beat Bahrain by like 60 points. And then the Puerto Rico game was not all that important. So this is a knockout game. You're trying to qualify the Olympics. They're playing Lithuania. I think they don't realize Danilo Gallinari might not be playing. He scored 11 points against Puerto Rico. He was being guarded by Jose Alvarado. That's not an easy task at all for anyone playing, NBA players struggle to be guarded by Jose Alvarado. He's a great defender in the NBA. So 10.5 minus 115. I think you'll see this move up quite a bit. So I was just kind of jumping on it before we get like an official word on Gallinari here.
Okay, so from Nico Manion to a bit more of a household name. I think people know this next guy. His name is Giannis. What do you like for him against Luka head to head?
Yeah, so these tournaments are to qualify for the Olympics. You need to win 2 more. People thought this would be the final matchup in this group. It's going to be the semifinal matchup just because how group play played out. So I'm going Giannis Antetokounmpo over 32.5 points, minus 125. That is a really big number for a 40-minute game, right? These are 40-minute games, not 48-minute games like they are in the NBA. But you look at his first game, he didn't play the second game because Greece had already advanced. The first game against Dominican Republic, first game against Dominican Republic, he had 32 points, 100% shooting from the field in 18 minutes. Yeah, those are insane numbers. So like this is Slovenia, this matchup against Slovenia, like it's Luka versus Giannis. There's not great defenders on Slovenia. Slovenia is a fast-paced offensive team. There's no rim protection like at all on Slovenia. So like in terms of Giannis getting in the paint, and the thing I really like about this bet is Greece has 2 veteran guards, Nick Kalathis and Thomas Walkup, both assist guy. They can get the ball to Giannis in his spots. That's the big problem. Sometimes you get these international games where they have a really good NBA player. I was watching it with Montenegro. They had Nikola Vucevic, and he's in the post. He's your best offense player, but they can't get him the ball because they don't have the guards who can kind of beat the perimeter defense and get the ball, make the pass into the interior. Greece has those guys. They have really good guards. I think they're an 8.5 point favorite over Slovenia. I just like when you look at this from, we can play like the math probability games, all those things. You're Giannis Antetokounmpo. You took the time out of your summer to play, not even in the Olympics, to play in a qualifying tournament to get in the Olympics. You're not coming into this game to be passive. You're there to score. This is being played in Greece, and it's against Luka Doncic. I just think, like, give me the ball. And there's no one who can meet him at the rim. It should be, I think Slovenia might have messed that up too, but that I don't want to talk for 5 minutes here. They're the guy, you can bring in one naturalized player onto your roster. And last year they brought Mike Tobey as a 7-footer to the World Cup. This year they brought Josh Nebo, more of a lob threat, 6'9". I think they're going to miss not having Mike Tobey in this game, trying to go head to against Giannis. So that's another thing. Giannis over 32.5 points. It
tells you all you need to know about Slovenia when Metler says they're going to miss Mike Tobey. Mike Tobey is interior defense. Yeah, they say no chance without Mike Tobey in the paint there for them. Okay, yeah, so the NBA's wrapped up, but we are ramping up towards the Olympics. The tournament is going to be absolutely fantastic. These qualifying games are great. So can only one of these teams, can Slovenia and Greece both make the Olympics still? Or
no, there's 4 different tournaments happening all in 4 different countries right now, and only one team gets through each of those tournaments. So there's only 4 spots. So Luka or Giannis are out. So that's kind of my point. It's like,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for the global game, but at the same time, like, you kind of have a hard time getting these NBA players to play in Olympics, let alone a qualifying tournament. So these guys who are showing up for qualifying tournaments, no guarantee to play in the Olympics. They're not there to pass, in my opinion.
Indeed. Okay. One thing let's touch on before we wrap up here. We were supposed to do this at the start of the segment, but I forgot, to be completely honest. So let's do it right now. So, John, you like weighing in on these player next team markets? And DeMar DeRozan seems to be in a bit of a tricky spot here at this point of his career. He is a free agent. Does he want to chase a ring? Does he want to go to whoever can pay him the most money? There doesn't appear to be a lot of suitors out there who can pay him a lot of money. But any thoughts out of these teams? He's favored to end up with the Miami Heat, who have come up short on their quest to add like a third player to their big 3, if you want to call it that. Any thoughts on DeMar and where he could end up, or what might be a smart bet here?
Yeah, I keep going through this market. I haven't placed any bets yet. I do think there's opportunity here with DeRozan. He's just a kind of tricky one to figure out. He's looking for 20 to 25 million. A lot of teams don't have 20 to 25 million to give him. This, the first apron, second apron is scaring a lot of teams here from spending money. He could be sign and trade, but the Bulls said they don't want contracts back. So that makes it incredibly difficult as well. I look at the top of the board, the two favorites, and this is why I get interested in this market, because Miami Heat, I don't think you can bet the Miami Heat to trade for anyone at this point because they just haven't. So them being plus 350 doesn't get me excited. For the Lakers, JJ Redick said they're going to use math, they're going to use analytics. What JJ Redick is telling you is they're going to shoot a lot of 3-pointers. That's what the math and analytics say to do. They drafted Dalton Connect. DeRozan doesn't shoot 3-pointers. So to me, that's not a fit either. The Clippers probably should be the favorites just because they could replace Paul George. It seems like a very Clippers move to do that. Yeah. I just do wonder, like I go further down the board here and I just wonder, are you going to see something like completely random that you just didn't see coming just because it is kind of a tricky situation for DeRozan? And obviously the one that kind of pops there is the Warriors 40-1. You'd have the contract, you'd have to trade Andrew Wiggins' contract. The Bulls say they don't want contracts. I'm sure you could maybe find someone to take that. And there's a ton of pressure on the Warriors, I feel like, to make a move to, you only got Steph Curry for so long. DeRozan as a 34-year-old scares you because of his age, but it aligns with Steph Curry here, right? So that's the kind of one. I don't know, even like the Memphis Grizzlies are 50-1. Do they, they have a really good roster as well. Could they push all the chips in and just be like, hey, we got 4 perimeter guys, Desmond Bane, John Morant, DeRozan, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., and kind of play small? That would be kind of fun. I don't know. I feel like there's a big opportunity here with DeRozan. I just really haven't pinned down that exact team because I do think maybe a long shot might hit here.
What about your Orlando Magic? We talked about them needing more scoring depth, right? They, I thought they were going to try to maybe get Donovan Mitchell, but he decided to re-up in Cleveland. I think that could be a decent landing spot. But what I would like to see, it's easy for me to sit here in my basement and say I'd like DeMar DeRozan to take a discount. But this guy, during his run with the Raptors, he was pretty goddamn awful in the playoffs, let's be fair. And then not much noise in the playoffs since. He went to San Antonio where it was a rebuild. The Bulls pretty much a play-in team. So, it would be nice to see him be, the third or fourth guy, probably the third guy on a contender where he doesn't have to take all the pressure. So I would like to see that, but I think I would love if he signed with the Charlotte Hornets and just said, listen, they offer me the most money. Yeah. And that's why I signed. I would love to hear that from a professional athlete, because you see these situations where a guy signs with this shitty ass team. Oh, I think there's a lot of potential here in the future. No. They offered you the most money, and that's fine. I think that's something most people can say, okay, I'd probably take the most money too. So yeah, that will be interesting to see what he does. The other player they have up is Lauri Markkanen, which I'm surprised, you're hearing his name in rumors quite a bit. Utah Jazz, who he's on right now, plus 220, the favorite. I'd be surprised if they moved on from him. I know they're in a rebuild, and they did kind of take a step back this past year. They were a surprise team in the 2023 season or 2022-23 season. You think he could be on the move? The Golden State Warriors, what a pickup that would be. Imagine get rid of Clay and you add him to the team. What do you think there?
Yeah, that's kind of why I also look at DeRozan 40-1 to the Warriors, because they're so in on Lauri Markkanen. It's like if they strike out and they don't get Markkanen, do they panic and go get DeRozan? That's kind of, you see the Warriors up here at the top of this market. Yeah. I think the Warriors, they have the pieces to make this happen, right? You can send Wiggins the contract. You have Jonathan Kuminga. The Utah Jazz would gladly take him back. I think the Warriors can definitely make it happen. Plus 400. The Spurs, if you put Markkanen and Wembanyama together moving forward, you now have two bigs, like your 4. You have rim protection, but also shooting from your 4-5 spot. That would be a crazy move. The Sacramento Kings are up there. I think they'd have to include Keegan Murray in that trade. I don't think they will include Keegan Murray in any trade. I would include Keegan Murray in any trade. So I don't really like that. Miami Heat, same thing. I don't feel interested in betting on the Miami Heat. Like, they just don't make the moves. There's one team I was looking kind of near the longer odds. I wonder if the Pelicans could get involved from like a 3-team deal. I've seen some rumors of people just kind of, people throw things on Twitter where they make the contracts work. If you sent Brandon Ingram out and then Lauri Markkanen in, but they'd have to play Markkanen at the 5. I don't know if they'd want to do that, but that'd kind of be like a fun one too. Yeah, the Houston Rockets also, the thing is, Markkanen is like the prototypical player you want in the NBA these days. So I think every team's in on Markkanen, which
Yeah,
makes this
man.
really, really difficult. So you kind of got to look at the Rockets we got all those rumors before the NBA draft there with, will they go after Durant? They're willing to include Alperen Şengün. They have all these draft picks and stuff. And now they've kind of gone like really, really quiet. You kind of see them sitting around 11-1. I think a lot of teams, this is a very, very tricky one to bet on because I think every single team is lining up to get him.
Indeed. Okay. We will end the show at that. Not a lot going on. We got 40 minutes out of the show today. Always something to discuss in the world of sports. Things are slowing down a little bit, but things will soon begin ramping up. Once again, we'll probably wait till the start of August to get into all of our NFL and college football future stuff, but I cannot wait to do so. We have a lot in store for the show come fall. We're going to be going 5 days a week, and we're going to have a lot of big guests coming on as well. Okay, Metler, let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on in terms of sports betting over the next couple of days here.
Yeah, you can follow me on X at John Metler. You'll see some Olympic qualifying bets that we've been posting, and I've been throwing some MLB home run props into the MLB picks page at Covers. And then before you bet next Monday at noon, we'll be live on YouTube.
Indeed. Okay. Quick recap of my baseball. If you're just joining now, Justin Steele under 2.5 earned runs. Carson Spires over 16.5 outs. Pablo Lopez under 17.5 outs plus 145. That's my favorite bet. And Kyle Freeland under 3.5 earned runs minus 125. Okay, we're going to leave it at that and hop right into the weekend. We will be right back with you guys again next week, though. Thank you very much for tuning in. Best of luck with all your bets tonight and this weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week. Woo!